Hey, everybody. Welcome to My EdTech Live. I am your host, Fonz. You can follow me on Twitter at FonzAdTechTeacher1381. Thank you so much for being here today. We have a special show. I mean, every show is special because I always have some amazing guests. And I'm so thankful for today to have an actual second guest that we had. We just finished one of our live shows, but now we have Rachel Coathup, who's joining us from London, all the way from London. That's right. So I'm so thankful that Rachel is here today, and she's going to talk to us about her Google Innovator project, which is helping so many teachers at this time find opportunities to get badges, certifications, accreditations. And right now, guys, that it's summer, I know a lot of teachers have definitely gone more for that digital learning and finding platforms and are trying to get equipped. Rachel's site is definitely worth its weight in gold in what it has to offer. So I'm going to go ahead and let Rachel introduce herself and just tell you a little bit about her. And we'll go ahead and start talking about BadgEdTech. Rachel.
Thanks so much, Fonzo, and thanks for having me on. It's such an honor to always be invited to be on other people's channels and just to talk. And I think being able to talk about my Google Educator Innovator project, which is very much a big work in progress, and it's nowhere near being finished. It sort of went on the back burner after finishing the Sweden cohort in November, and we were sort of due to have everything, up and, ready and submitted. I think it was in September, October of this year. And with everything that's happened, that's actually been postponed until sort of mid-December now, which sort of drove me to think, okay, now's a good time as ever. And actually, it was my colleague that I used to work with, John Neal, who's very famous in the EdTech world. And if you're not following him on Twitter, a big shout out to John Neal for actually actioning me to sort of get this going, because he was desperate to, I sort of shared my project in the very early days and said, this is what I'm working on. And, it's all about BadgEdTech and all of the certifications, badges, accreditations that you can get in one place. And the whole reason for me sort of shifting and pivoting to this was that when I went into the Google Educator Innovator Academy in Sweden, I sort of went in with the focus of how do we actually support teachers in using technology in the classroom to support all learners. And when I went in my head, whilst we're always told, don't go in with your solution, somewhere in the back of my mind was, well, if we just combine all of the fantastic tech tools that are out there, we'll be where we need to be. And it was during the academy that I slowly started to realize that actually that's not the case. There are so many great tech tools and they're fantastic in their own right. And actually, it was more of a, how can we actually train up teachers that are time poor and do struggle to learn the benefits of all of these apps. So for me, it was like, okay, so how can I actually train up teachers when someone who is, training teachers constantly as part of my role? So I had to work out a way that was going to be beneficial and something that worked for me as well. So I don't have a background in tech. I'm a classroom teacher. So I worked as a classroom teacher in Australia for 2 years. Then when I moved over to the UK, I was thrown in the deep end and put on to take on the role as a computing teacher, which I had no background in, but I had a strong passion for using technology to support learners to share what they were doing in the classroom. And so the way that I got into it was actually starting to explore the different accreditations. And my boss at the time said to me, part of your role as soon as you start will be, I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator, and, you need to go and do your Google Certified Educator because we don't have that yet. So I thought, okay. So I sat there and I worked through all of the modules, completed all of the quizzes, all of the tasks. And I remember thinking, gosh, I hope this is worth it. Because anyone that's actually sat there and watched all of the videos and gone through every single module will know that there is a lot to it. So I started there. So I completed my level 1, and then I went straight on to level 2. And then I started to explore some of the other apps that I was using. And the main way that I sort of started to learn was through their accreditation progress or their ambassador status that they had. And one of the things that I noticed was that just how these programs sort of group teachers together. And I think, Fonzo's channel is all about this. And, it's all about giving back and sharing, not sort of learning how to do something and locking it in your cupboard. And I think as teachers, sometimes it can be very hard to sort of find how to use something and then think, oh, okay, now I have to go and share that with someone else. But actually, the more that we do that, the more we empower other teachers to go out and try something new, try something that works, and share. So this sort of led me to, I was struggling thinking, okay, I've got some EdTech badges already, but how do I get more? And whilst I was very much a sort of person that thought, I don't really like the idea of having 1,000 badges to my name. There are people out there that are very much competitive and want to have those 1,000 badges. And go you if that's you.
I can name a few. I think like Steph Howell is one of those. Maybe I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe Karen, maybe myself too. We love to go get badges, but and I'm sorry to interject there, Rachel, but I think some of the things that you're saying are just great as far as myself too, just kind of not formally studying or going to school to be a teacher, but just kind of being thrown in there, coming in from the business world. Sometimes we need to find support, and sometimes we may not find that support within the school or within the district, just because everything is just so fast paced. Everybody's doing their own thing. So like you were mentioning, researching and looking for things that might help you, and using that ambassador status or just their beginner, their bronze or something, just to get to know the platform a little bit more, is something that can be very useful for the teachers to kind of bring that down, that anxiety, kind of be able to use these tools and kind of start developing their EdTech repertoire per se, where they can go ahead and start using certain things for certain aspects in their classes. And I think one of the things that I love about your project is that all of that information, that wealth of information, is all in one place. And I think, like you said, sharing means caring. And sometimes it's like, you just kind of want to hold it for yourself, and you're like, oh, I don't want to share because I want to be the only cool kid. But in the end, it's gonna benefit other educators. But to me, the end result is it always will end up in the hands of the students. And to me, that's the most important, that what you're learning is going to affect the students directly. So sharing means caring, guys. Let's not think about like, well, I know more than this. No, it's in the end, it's all the students that will be affected in a positive way. So thank you.
And I think that's a really key thing to remember. And, you just touched on that key point, is that, part of these apps and why these programs are such a meaningful thing, and coming back to that competition aspect of the badges, I think it is more than, it's not just having that badge or having that status, but actually the learning that comes through learning how to use a platform. All of the apps that I have, especially sort of when I started, all of the ones that I went for were apps that I was using every day. And even still, when I went through the program, I suddenly learned little tips and tricks that I wasn't aware of. I remember going through the Screencastify, Master the Screencast, and when I did that one, I just saw all of these brilliant ideas of how to use it that I hadn't thought of before. So I think that's such a important thing to remember. So I don't know if you want to bring in my screen now, and I'll just sort of talk through the site a little bit.
Let me go ahead and do that. There you go.
Hey, Lawrence, nice to see you in the chat there. My fellow innovator buddy. So the BadgEdTech very much sort of came about with the whole idea that I struggled to find where an app had their certified educator, ambassador status. There are so many different names for it. And I think, if I struggled to find it, and I was in the tech world and I was using technology every day and empowering teachers to do that, how was I actually going to expect teachers to find these and learn how to use it? So very much came up with okay, I need to be able to pull all of these together. And, I should put a caveat out that this is very much a work in progress. It's not finished. I would love all of you that are here. If you have feedback, if there's anything that you want to share, please, drop it in the comments, or use the feedback button that's at the bottom of my site, so that I can sort of go through and lead on how this actually moves forward, because ultimately, like, I want to drive this forward in a way that is meaningful, and will ultimately benefit educators that are using it every day. So very much came out with the focus of having badges, certificates, and accreditations. And this might change, but ultimately it sort of worked in that level aspect of difficulty. So working from the sort of badge that might be just something you do online. It's very quick, sort of easy one to do, and then into the certificates, which is a little bit more sort of intense. So it might involve sort of a couple of step processes, or maybe listening to a webinar, or sort of partaking in something, and then building into the accreditations, which are sometimes things that you need to apply for. It could be sort of more lengthy certified programs that you need to do, or sort of face-to-face programs that you actually apply for and are much more sort of deep there. And I think it's important to remember that sometimes you might be going in and thinking, well, where are the, Google certified educated, and thinking that they are in the certificate. So this is definitely something that I'm, continuing to think about, because it's very much sort of based on that difficulty level of it. So some of them, are sort of around in different locations there, but it's that whole gamification that we see for teachers. And we are starting to see more and more teachers get behind using BadgEdTech. I'm very excited to say last night I read my analytics every morning. I'm one of those people. And last night I hit 3,500 unique users, 5,000 viewers of all time, and I'm, definitely starting to get a much bigger global reach. There's obviously some countries that just I don't think I'll ever hit, but it is just so exciting to hit that. So thanks to those of you that have just popped congrats in the chat there. It is very exciting to be at that point. And let's continue to grow this. Let's not stop. Let's continue to empower our teachers to do it.
And it is something that is amazing. And I agree with what Darren said here, is that oftentimes, even in the platforms, a lot of these certifications or badges or accreditations may be hidden in there. And, you don't even know that there's something available, because you've got to go through certain tabs and things of that sort. But the fact that you can go to your site, or teachers, educators, anybody can go to your site and easily, just with one click, go straight to that page, straight to that site, and then they can go ahead and get started on their journey, whether it's through Book Creator, Kahoot, Soundtrap. There's several that I've used your site for to do over the summer whenever I have a little break. And it's just so convenient that I can just click, and immediately I just either sign in using, Google Auth, or, create an account. But it's tools that I know are going to be useful for me, that I can put into practice and that I can share with teachers. So it's something that is great, Rachel. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And sort of the challenge aspect came about from my amazing coach, Isa, who led us through the 3 days in Sweden. And she very much sort of led me, and I should say my mentor as well, Kimberly Hall in Australia. Big shout out to her. Thank you, Kim. Is that she very much both of them sort of suggested having that aspect of the levels, so that when I do offer a challenge, and I, try and do these as regular as possible, there will be a new challenge released tomorrow. So stay tuned for the update to that. But it's very much something that's quite easy to do, something that's a little bit harder, and then something that's going to take you more time. And I think There is one that I need to give a massive shout out to, and that's a Google Certified Innovator VIA application progress. So this is very much not just an accreditation that you go and do, but it's changed this year with everything that's happened. So it's usually a face-to-face 3-day opportunity where you go in with a problem, and this has shifted to online, and so it's a very exciting time. And I think such an opportunity moment to actually share this challenge. And one of my favorite people, Leslie, is running the Google Innovator Open Chat. The next one is on next Sunday. I can't remember the exact time. All I know is it's at silly o'clock, so it's perfect time for those in Australia and maybe in the States as well.
I did pop the link. I did pop the link into the chat, so that way people can get informed and see when that'll take place. But definitely, the chats are great, guys. If you're if you're interested in in applying for the Certified Innovator Program, definitely go check out these chats. The innovators that are there, everybody that is there, it's a great community, and they're so helpful. Like Rachel has been extremely helpful, at least with my applications and just getting just feedback and just learning from them. You've got so many great individuals there. Shout out to Global GEG also, because they're definitely all the innovators that are there participate in these chats. And it's just a great community where they're there to help. I mean, they're going to, maybe see what your problems are that you're going to come in with and things of that sort. They may, tear them up a bit. They'll build you back up. They'll give you suggestions, and all because it goes back to the sharing means caring model. And we definitely want to, prepare more educators, and definitely want to have more innovators out there in our schools. And so it's just a great way for you to get to know the innovator community.
And I think as well, for those that, are joining now or are new to listening in, is that, the Google Innovator Academy can be sort of intimidating, and some people think, oh, but I'm not good enough, or I'm not an innovative educator, or I don't have sort of a problem that I think could be solved. But I think it's very easy, and a lot of us, I don't think I know a single person that hasn't said in my PLN, and my big global gig family, that haven't said that they suffer imposter syndrome, where it's that constant feeling that you aren't good enough, and or how have I been selected to do this here? And I think this is one thing that the Innovator Academy just definitely strips you from, and the connections that you make. And yes, this will be online, but I didn't know, I haven't met Alfonso in person. I know that one day we will, but all of these connections that I've made, a lot of them have just been on Twitter, and I think that's that's a huge thing to remember. So I know there was a question from Crystal.
From Crystal.
Do you need your Google Level 1 or Level 2? So you just need Google Level 2 to apply for the Innovator Program. So what I'll do now is I'm just going to take you through just very quickly over the site, and talk a little bit about the purpose of it. So as for those of you that maybe haven't gone into this sort of gives a little bit of a backstory in terms of the purpose of it. I know you won't be able to read this now, but just to sort of say that, it's not just another tick box. The whole thing of badges, yes, some people think it's just one of those, like, yes, okay, tick it off the box. I've got Google Certified Educator Level 1, but actually it is doing more than just simply having it. It's talking about it. It's, connecting to other ambassadors and other certified educators on Twitter or on Facebook or on Instagram, and actually making those meaningful connections with those, and asking questions and giving that feedback. I think that's the big thing for me. I don't know if this is the same for you, Fonzo, but for me, being an ambassador, being a certified educator for a lot of these apps is actually that main connected channel that you have to be able to provide feedback, and they actually take it on board. And I think that's such an exciting thing, that you can feed that back.
And I agree with you on that, Rachel. I mean, right now, previously to this show, we had Steph Lyons, and I'm a Merge Cube ambassador, and they are wonderful at really listening to their ambassadors. Because sometimes we are the ones that have our ear to the ground as far as what teachers are looking for, what things that they may need, or get that feedback, and then we definitely give them that feedback, and then they can go ahead and make any changes, any developments. And just some great companies just that do that are definitely like Wakelet as well. Being a Wakelet ambassador, I get emails all the time like, hey, what are some suggestions? What are some things that you may see? And they really take that feedback. And as you see, how they've grown and how many partnerships they've developed with other companies, because teachers find it useful for them to be connected with other platforms and so on. So I agree with you that sometimes, people are like, well, I just want to get all the badges, but, are you really learning or seeing the concept? Is this something that's going to really apply to your practice, or are you just kind of, pumping up the numbers and that's it, So, like you said, I think it's important that you just don't just say, hey, got it. But how are you using it? How are you sharing it? Are you, really putting it into practice and bringing it to the hands of your teachers that will ultimately bring it down to the hands of their students as well?
And I think, that's one thing that I'm really excited to see about a lot of our EdTech apps is that they have started to issue this sort of level-based program that is really starting to acknowledge and have those levels in, which sort of means that anyone that sort of is on that ground road starting can actually start somewhere, but also to recognize those that are actively contributing to the community and continuing to grow that over time. So I'm going to jump into the badges section, and this I'm just going to very quickly sort of scroll through just some of the different badges, and it is worth sort of pointing out that some of these as well do house a lot of badges within. So, for example, our favorite one at the moment, Edpuzzle certifications, there is 19 badges behind the scenes here. And the reason for that is my BadgEdTech site would start to become a very long page. Yeah. And I think what is nice about the Edpuzzle certifications, whilst there is 19, there is also no expectation to complete all 19, to become King Edpuzzle certificate.
unless you're me or Steph Howe, who are like the badge kings and badge queens that did all 19. But yeah, just throwing that in there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I think that is a nice thing. So it means that, teachers that are getting started can go and learn, even just from one little one there. And that's exactly the same, with your Apple Teacher as well. So the Apple Teacher does house lots of little ones that focus on the different apps around as well. I can't remember exactly how many, but there is a lot there. And exactly the same with the idea badges. So there's a lot behind there. And the Microsoft Edu badges. So Microsoft have a lot of badges available to do. And some of them are very quick. Some of them take longer to do. But what's really nice and something that I didn't know was Mark Anderson sort of reached out and got chatting to me about the Microsoft Edu badges and sort of how they actually progress through. So it's definitely worth looking into because you can start to move up based on how much you do through there. So I found that really interesting to learn. And we've even seen companies like Nearpod get behind distance learning and release their own special badge there, as well as vocabulary as well. So they released two for just for distance learning, especially. And then Seesaw, I'm just going to jump on. Seesaw have actually released sort of a tiered program that's based on sort of your years of being in the program. And I think that's really nice to see as well, because it means, for those that have been in the program for 3 years, you actually are sort of recognized for that as well. And then Wakelet have 2 badges, and this is one through the Microsoft badge as well as the Wakelet own community member badges as well. And then we go into the certificates. And as I said, this starts to build on that next level. So you saw Book Creator on the one before, and this was, this just goes through the tools, and then sort of a Book Creator Ambassador is that next level of building through. And then CoSpaces are due. So I know that Fonzo had MergeCube on before, and CoSpaces is fantastic with MergeCube. You can create your own content and view it through there. And if any of you do want a code, then feel free to send me a private message on Twitter, and I'll be happy to hook you up there. And then Flipgrid Certified Educator as well, I will mention. Flipgrid's another one that has a lot behind the scenes. What's really nice about Flipgrid is that they sort of award them behind the scenes. So every now and again you'll log in and you'll see that you have a new badge. And I think that's something that's really exciting, and it's all based on how much your learners are using Flipgrid, or if you're using it with your community as well. And then if you do have any, I know there are a lot of you in the chat, but if there's any that you do know that aren't here or that you've seen and want to be featured on, please do reach out or use the feedback button that's at the bottom. And, if there is any companies that might be watching or might be tuning in and want to do a special release challenge, then I'd love to get behind that as well. So you can see here there's lots and lots of certification badges, and then I'm going to go into the final part, which is the accreditations. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this builds on sort of more extensive programs. So the Apple Distinguished Educator program is very much application progress. You then go to a sort of face-to-face event that takes place. And I should mention as well, as I go through this site, a lot of people think that I must just have all of these because I created it. Definitely don't. I wish I did. I do have a lot of them, but, I think it's just that pure fact of having this all in one location. And again, some of these accreditations do change over time, or, they might not be seeking people. So at the moment, they are just all there, but just bear in mind that obviously with everything happening in the world right now, some of them might not be active. But usually all their channels are pretty good to communicate back and to share where they're up to with that as well. And Excellent. So that's all of those certifications. I will just sort of make that big note that there is that feedback button. I do check it. So please, if you do have any suggestions at all to make this better or how I can take it next, I have added a coming soon. And I don't know sort of how much time I've got, Fonzo. Is it 3 minutes?
No, you keep going. We don't have to end at 11. This is your show. We're here.
I wanted to mention that sort of these are some sort of like back channel things that I'm looking at. I'd love to get some sort of feedback on them, is to potentially do a calendar. So some of these programs are very much seasonal programs. So things like Brain Pop, things like Google Innovator, Apple Distinguished Educator, all of those programs, even the Microsoft certification, I remember that one is actually rolling out in July as well. So I'm thinking I'll set up a calendar with the dates for these applications and when they're due, as a way to sort of try and encourage you and to be able to check in on what's coming up and what should I focus on trying to complete. My big sort of long-term goal is to have some guides and to have educators like Fonzo and everyone else in the Global GEG community that have worked hard to get some of these badges, is to actually share their story of what they've found from having it. And I think that's this is why I'm so passionate about this project, is because I don't come from a very competitive house. I very much am behind all ambassador certification programs for teachers, just because of how much they can learn and then empower their learners to actually try something new, to take a new idea, and to also have that feedback channel, and also to have that community of network and connections. I'm so grateful, and this is a massive shout out to Global GEG, and all of my PLN. There's too many of you to sort of just to say, but you all know who you are, and I'm just so grateful for the connections and the learning that I've had from you. So I think, we just need to, as Kim Martina would say, just keep paying this forward. We need to keep sharing what we know, and helping to empower others, so that in turn, ultimately this is all for our learners and our students. And that sort of leads me into my next little bit, which is, and my Facebook, or my Twitter poll, I should say. My Twitter poll came back that quite highly to sort of release a student section. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming in the next couple of weeks, I think, is to have a section at the top, which will just be for student badges, so that you can actually empower your students to go and collect your badges. I know at Leo Academy Trust, we've been trying to get our students on board, and they've started to do their Master Screencastify Junior badges. So, and I know that we tried to get them onto the Edpuzzle student badges, but unfortunately YouTube's blocked for us. So we're going to have to go through and unblock each video to get them on to try those. But that's in year 4. So I think that's a huge, thing to sort of empower, our learners, regardless of how young they are, that actually they can still earn this, and they love that gamification aspect of it as well.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. And so, with all of this all in one place, this is just something that is amazing. And I just kind of want to share with you a little bit about what our district is doing. Our district, every year, we have GT updates, or gifted and talented updates, so for teachers that serve GT students. And so this year what we did is we just went everything online. Of course, we couldn't do the face-to-face because schools are closed, so everything was remote learning. So what we did is we just created Google Classrooms for every school, and we put in all the teachers that service our GT community within those Google Classrooms, and we gave them the Flipgrid. They're going to do the Flipgrid on Microsoft. They're going to do the Flipgrid just on the regular page, their badges. They're going to do the Screencastify, and they're doing Edpuzzle. They're doing 3 of the Edpuzzles. So it has been great. It's been different. A lot of teachers, because they're used to the face-to-face and then going in there and exploring these platforms. But these are all platforms that we started using during remote learning, and not every teacher had that experience. So this is a great way for them to get the experience of using Flipgrid, how they can amplify student voice and choice, especially to meet the needs of the GT community, or for any community, because it's not just for GT, but allow for differentiation and allow for voice and choice. But also using Screencastify, since we do have Screencastify for our district, now the teachers will go through Screencastify and get their certification, and they will do Edpuzzle, which we did purchase for our district, and now they'll be familiar with Edpuzzle, how it works. And a lot of the teachers have just been enjoying it and loving it because of that gamification aspect of, hey, I've got a badge. So now I've got teachers that email me, and now I see their signature, and their signature has their Flipgrid badges. They've got their Edpuzzle badges and their newly freshly minted level 1 badges that we're working on too as well. So this is something that is definitely very helpful. And again, the teachers, it just shows that they're thirsty for that knowledge, and now they can see that they can have access to this at their leisure while on vacation. They can invest 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes here and there, but all they need to do is just go to your site and just find just one click away, and they're there to that page, instead of hunting everything down through the various tabs that there may be on those websites. So Rachel, I just really can't thank you enough for doing something like this, because when you first shared it on Twitter, when I first saw it maybe a couple months back, I did Soundtrap through there. I did a Book Creator. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is all in one place. So I just bookmarked the page, and now I just go back and forth when I have time to go in and just continue my education, because I'm one of those that I never settle. I just want to continually learn. And of course you earn the badge. But I think in the end, like I said, it's just being able to, as teachers, take the initiative be very self-motivated to go in and say, hey, let me see what this app can do, go through the process. And then at the end, you're going to have this mix. You've got this badge here, but that means this platform, you learned something from here, you learned something from this one. And now you start marrying both, or marrying three, marrying four, and you're coming up with some great innovative ideas that later on, these may come to fruition as amazing partnerships between companies, like we saw earlier when I was talking to Steph, and their partner, the official, unofficial partnerships, like with Merge, with Wakelet, with Microsoft, and all of those things. And again, because they love the teacher feedback. So those are some of the great things that at least I want to share from my experience in being on your site, is that you start being very creative and putting things together. And I know we've got a lot of great app smashers out there, and this is a great tool to learn so many individual tools that later on, like I said, you can bring together and just create greatness for the students. So it's something amazing.
And I think that's one of the nice things, is that, learning doesn't stop, and, being able to get new ideas, even if you think, oh, but I already know everything in Screencastify, or I already know how to do everything in Kahoot. Why would I need to know anything else? But actually, sometimes it's just from using the platform and exploring other people's ideas that you go away thinking even more creatively how you can use that. And, if you can continue to then share that new brainwave of thought that you have, new ideas with your PLN or on Twitter or on Facebook groups, and ultimately, we're just continuing to grow. And as educators, learning doesn't stop. And I think the more that we can share with each other and learn from each other, the education community just will continue to grow. And I've definitely learned so much from my PLN. So
yeah, and that's definitely something that I also want to encourage all our viewers, any of you that are here joining us, is get on Twitter, start following some people. Global GEG, definitely highly recommend you follow anybody at Global GEG, and follow anybody that follows Global GEG, because, these are going to be some of the finest educators that you're going to find, innovators, not only Google innovators, but innovators within their own right, as far as educators and in the positions that they serve. And you're going to continue to grow and grab so many ideas from them that you can go ahead and start putting into practice. And I think that without Twitter, for myself and in my practice and becoming a connected educator, a lot of the things that I'm doing now, I wouldn't be able to do, or wouldn't be experiencing having a guest from London here today, sharing her innovator project. I mean, these are things that you just grab those ideas, you see other people do them, you learn from one another, you continue to grow. And again, it's just building up our community. We definitely want to have a good, strong foundation between our PLNs, and, making sure that in the end, I know I sound like a broken record, but to me, just that passion and compassion that I have for our students is that in the end, this is going to benefit them greatly.
100%.
So 100%. And I agree with you on that, Rachel. So anything else that you'd like to share, Rachel? Anything upcoming? I know you shared some stuff here in your badges, with BadgEdTech, some things that are coming soon. Any other projects maybe that you have in mind, or maybe even throw a shout out to, maybe some of the Global GJ members or specific members of people that we should be on the lookout for, that we should follow. Go ahead and share away, Rachel.
Yeah, so stay tuned. I'm definitely going to be releasing some new challenges tomorrow. So keep an eye for those. If they're not released tomorrow, they will definitely be up on Monday. So always try and get in those challenges to sort of take on something new during the week, or, during the next sort of 2 weeks. I'd love you to use the hashtag BadgEdTech. So if you are on Twitter or on Facebook and you are using that, please make sure that anytime you do complete a new badge, and especially if it's one that you've found through here, I love seeing the success stories and just seeing other teachers sort of share the benefit this has had for them and their schools as well. And, I must give a massive shout out to Abid Patel. I know he's got something big coming. I don't want to spoil his surprise, but he definitely sort of led me to applying for Innovator Academy. And, you know, if it didn't start there, then I wouldn't be here trying to build up my project. So huge shout out to Abid.
Excellent. And again, like I said, guys, like just Rachel, just straight from her mouth, guys, just the importance of just being part of a PLN where everybody's there to support you and just build you up. Because sometimes we may feel very like getting that imposter syndrome of, no, I can't do that. No, I really can't. But you can, you know, you just really need somebody, well, not only yourself, starting with you believing in yourself, but having that tribe, that EdTech group, you know, just backing you up, telling you that you can do it and giving you ideas and helping you grow and just really, you know, having that strong support system is something that is wonderful. And that's something that I am actually so thankful for with Global GEG, with getting to meet so many wonderful people and now being able to have them here on the show and getting to share their stories. Because again, this show also is not only bringing in, you know, companies or bringing in, you know, platforms, but bringing in just people that love to share, such as Rachel. And we're going to have some other guests from Global GEG that are doing some wonderful things to build up community, build up capacity, and encourage so many teachers that are out there, you know, to just say, you know what, you can do this. You can do this. And this is completely possible. And of course, thanks to platforms like BadgEdTech that Rachel has done, definitely makes things a lot easier. Guys, also, I did put a link on in the chat to a Google form. If you can fill out that link, I will be passing or sharing some My EdTech Life stickers here. You know, so that'll be for a couple of winners. So please go ahead and fill out that form so you can get some of these limited edition My EdTech Life stickers. And of course, all our guests get a sticker also by default. So I'm really excited because, I mean, just for you to take your time, Rachel, you know, I know it's afternoon over there. It's, what is it, like 5:11 p.m. over there, British Standard Time. And here it's 11:11 a.m. here in Texas time. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all your hard work and just the fact that, you know, we've never met in real life, but we had followed each other on Instagram without knowing that we were following each other. And then we meet through Global GEG, and now we're doing a show, you know, so that is something that is wonderful. And Rachel, this is an open invitation. As soon as you, you know, update or have any updates on your site, anything that you like to share, this show, the doors are always open for you anytime that you would love to share what you're working on. And this goes for anybody in the community. If you've got an amazing project, anything that you would love to share with our educators, you know, platforms, things, whatever you think is useful for us as educators in our community, feel free to reach out to me. You can DM me at TechTeacher1381. And again, the doors to this show are always open to anyone. All right, guys. So thank you so much for everybody that is joining us here. Thank you, Leticia. Also, shout outs. Also, like I said, Rachel, we've gotten some great responses here on Twitter. You know, people are sharing this in their districts already and sharing it with their team. So, I mean, it's just amazing what you have done and what people are going to be able to accomplish through your project. So thank you again, Rachel, for taking the time. And guys, that is the end of our show today. We had a wonderful Saturday. Thank you all who stuck it through from, you know, beginning, starting with Merge EDU and here with us now, because I know that you took away some wonderful gems, some inspiration, and you're definitely pumped up for any of these new things that you may be seeing and that you will be able to accomplish. Stay tuned for Rachel's challenges as well. Don't miss out on those because it's only going to help you grow, not only yourself professionally, but your PLN. So guys, this is Tech Teacher 1381. That is at Tech Miss C, you know, in London. Follow us on Twitter. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Give everybody a wave, Rachel. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. You all take care, and we will see you